And
all right, we're live. Hey
we're
everybody,
live.
Welcome to a very special episode of the Growing with Fishes podcast, episode 290.
Yeah. Welcome to a live broadcast that's being filmed. Being transmitted, then being shown later. But it's live right now.
Absolutely. We have a wonderful guest today, a gentleman we've been wanting to have on for a long time, and we're super happy to have him here today. Tommy Chong.
Hey.
Thanks for joining us so much today.
You're more than welcome, my friend. Any excuse to sit and run my mouth and get high, I'll take it.
You actually have a very, every time Christmas comes around, my dad used to put your record on, your Christmas record, and my mom used to yell at him for putting it on, and you had the whole Santa Claus thing with oh man, it was just, that's a part of like our family's ritual for Christmas. So
I love it. Why was Mom pissed off? Because she just bored with it?
Oh, my mom was pretty anti-weed until a lot later on. So she was just, she was just a bit of a square.
That'll do it.
That had been a lot of fun to record, though. Did you have a lot of fun doing that at the time?
Oh yeah. Well, you need conflict. See, everything needs conflict. You can't write a play or do a song. You need conflict in there. And I realized that when you've been married long enough, you do things consciously and subconsciously just to piss the other one off, or to get their attention.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We also have Marty joining us today, our co-host.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hey, Marty. Best what? Best buds. Oh.
Best buds, yes.
Yeah, I wrote a movie called Best Buds one time.
Was that
nice?
Very cool. So what was your kind of entryway into the cannabis culture all those years ago?
Well, I got turned on when I was 17 years old. I was a musician by that time. We had a blues band. Actually, first Canadian, Western Canada R&B band. We were the first, up until we emerged, it was all country, country. They used to call it country western, but it was country. And then we come along and we just broke all the rules. Every rule you could break, we broke them. The color rule, the music rule, everything. And I was 17 years old, and there was a little private jazz club that a bunch of jazz musicians formed. It was in Canada, you could get past all the draconian, what do you call those laws? Those the church laws, closing at midnight because of Sunday and all that shit, and there was no nightclubs or anything in Calgary at the time. And so this bunch of jazz guys got together and formed a private jazz club. And I used to go down there all the time because if you were a musician and you brought your axe with you, you could get in free. I never played jazz. I was never, at that time I was just learning how to listen to it. But the founder of the jazz club, one day he showed up when I was there, and he handed me a Lenny Bruce comedy record and a marijuana joint. And it was my first look at comedy, and it was so ordained, it was meant to be, because here I am, some 70 years later,
Right? What a starter pack to get, right?
Yeah, one of the biggest pot comedians ever, and it was all because of that turn on. And what pot really changed my life, because up until then, it was alcohol, whether you wanted it to be or not, and very few people never drank. and the ones that never drank never hung out with us, And so we're always around the same bunch of drunks. And so, but when I got into weed, wow, here's something that just didn't make me stupid. It made me smart, at least feel smart. So it was the opposite of alcohol. And so I embraced it. But I also had respect because they scared the shit out of you back in the day. They said, if you smoke this weed, you're going to be putting a needle in your arm and shooting heroin and all that stuff. And so I wasn't that, eager. I took a toke and I wanted to see what would happen. And everything nice happened. And then the joint he gave me, it lasted for me for a good month, because I just take a toke like it just did. Take a toke and put it out, and just let that one toke, carry me. It actually carried me through the night. And yeah, that really that time of my life, I was about 17. Yeah, 17. And wow, I remember.
Have you ever grown cannabis? What was the first experiences you had trying to cultivate it?
Growing it, eventually, yeah. Well, I had, we had friends, that could grow it. My brother grew a nice crop. I'm not really a good grower, I'm a forgetter. Rather than a grower, like one time I grew some on my roof just the other day or other year. This pandemic has got you going. Yeah, I think it was, I don't know, halfway through the pandemic, I got some really nice plants growing, and then they matured. They were beautiful, and I cut them down and I put them in a plastic garbage bag, and I meant to take them and hang them up, but I got sidetracked. And I think a month later, I realized that what happened to those plants? And they were garbage. They were in a garbage bag, and I just had to dump them in the garbage. Yeah, they were ruined. But now I got a Tommy Chong grow tent. And so my son and I just grew a crop, four plants. And now I'm going to start growing for clones. I'm going to start growing mother plants and just for clones. Yeah.
What cultivars are you growing?
What?
What cultivars are you growing?
What, you mean the dirt?
Yeah, what strains are you growing?
Oh, the strains? I really don't know. I imagine it's, I don't know, maybe one of each. I never was one. I haven't evolved to that point where I start naming my kids. I just have them, call them by the same name. I'm like, yeah, George Foreman. He named all his kids George. No, I have a hard time. I'm more of an entertainer, movie maker.
Sure.
And and if I grow, people say, was that sativa or indica? I have to think about it and look at it. So I'm not really that. Actually, I'm a good example of anybody can grow this shit.
So what are I was doing some research for the show, and you said you had, I guess it was 2 or so years ago, you still had one beetle left to smoke with. Did you finally make that happen, or is that still on the list?
It's still on the list, Paul. I haven't been. I came pretty close a couple of years ago. We were supposed to be in the same town, and I was kind of. But again, I got a short memory. Talk about attention span. I got a very short memory span, and so I forgot about it. But yeah, I still got Paul, and I got to watch myself because I might smoke with him and then forget about it. So, but no, he's the only one on my bucket list. Everybody else, yeah, they can smoke with me. I don't have to smoke with them.
So There's you've had a chance to really travel the world and see all different types of things and kind of really be known as a cannabis icon in the world or over. Have you ever had a chance to toke up with a sitting world leader at all or anything like that? Or what's kind of some of the crazier people you in your mind or people that you really enjoyed spending time with smoking you know, in all the years doing your entertainment and other things?
Well, I always smoked to be alone, really. You know, I was never because being a musician, especially the way I started, you know, I'm and a songwriter, and so that's a very alone kind of gig, you know. So I was never. In fact, I played in the same band, and there was the piano player, and we didn't know that we each smoked pot, and we're in the same band. Can you dig it? In the same band, and it wasn't until we went to Vancouver, and we're both outside, you know, waiting to buy our spinners. We used to buy $1 spinners, little marijuana dust joints, and we looked at each other. Oh, you too? Yeah. No, you know, back in the day, whatever you did, it wasn't blasted, advertised. You know, like I don't think alcohol was ever advertised in Canada. It was just there, you know. And the radio never wasted time on that shit. You know, radio back in the day, they would, you know, get right to the nitty gritty, you know, the music or the whatever it was. They never even had a news channel back then, you know. They just played music and you know, talked about what was going on. And this is in Canada anyway, you know. And we used to have a lot of free stuff. Like we used to, on radio, they used to have live from the city library, and they would read a book. And so I would lay in bed and have this audio voice, nice voice, you know, reading to me. It was very cool. I had a very cool upbringing. And in my family, I was the only one that was really addicted to the radio, you know, so it was really my radio. You know, I wasn't the oldest. I was the second oldest, but you know, so there's a hierarchy. You know, my brother wanted to take it. In fact, he kind of looked at it, but he never bothered. It wasn't his thing. You know, he was more like a outdoorsman, hockey player. You know, that kind of guy, diver, skin diver. But I was the music guy. You know. And I didn't know it either. I had no clue that I had musical ability. I just had musical addictions. Like I'd visit my cousin. You know, that's the sex education. You know, your older cousin, your 16-year-old cousin. When you're 8 years old, I used to love going into his room because he had a 12 bass accordion, and he had all the kind of like porn books around, everything else, but I would go right to that accordion and I'd sit there all evening or whatever we were over there and just pick out tunes, you know. I could play by ear and I'd remember play tunes that I'd heard in my head. And never thinking that I could be a musician as a occupation. Never dawned on. And then we had a neighbor that played fiddle, and he used to have a guitar player, but the guy got a job out of town or something. And then he realized I could play enough guitar to help it to make his fiddle playing sound good. And so next thing I know, I'm backing up a fiddle player. And so there again, you know, it was a job. It wasn't just fun. It was a job. You had to play tunes all the way through, and then, you know, and then maybe play it again, and, you know, dance tunes. And wow, that was my early training, and that really actually gave me the basis of why we got so successful. You know, because I realized, well, I was taught, you know, give the people what they want and keep it simple. that was the lesson I got, you know. And if you apply that to practically anything, it's good advice.
So when was it after making the famous Cheech and Chong movies? Did you realize how big it was getting? Like did you guys have an idea of the, like, while you're working on it, how big it was going to be, or did it just like totally surpass expectations? And
well, you know, when you're on that ride that we were on, you know, it's like a train ride, and you're going at a very rapid pace. So you can only hang on. That's the best you can do. You can't reflect. There's nothing to reflect. That's what you do when you go to jail, you know,
right.
or
right.
when your wife leaves you, you know.
Right.
Then but other than that, we're moving. We're always moving, you know.
Right.
So you're not thinking. And so, you know, our whole career just sort of went blurring by, you know. Right. This happened, that happened, you know. I was thinking, you know, because, you know, I was going over things that we did, you know, like living in Paris, shooting a movie in Paris, you know.
Right.
I mean, that was my need to wander, to be somewhere else, you know, that, especially that been there, done that thing, you know.
Right.
In the movie industry, can you imagine? They give you millions of dollars to film whatever you can think of, wherever you can think of.
Right.
I mean, that's the way it was with me. You know, it's like,
right. Yeah.
Here's the money, be funny. Well,
wow.
I like that. I like that. Here's the money, be funny. As a songwriter, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I took big advantage of that, you know, and again, because I found out I was the director. I didn't start off as the director. I started off, you know, with Up in Smoke. We just started off as a couple of guys that, yeah, we could do a movie. You know, I wanted to do a movie. I had another movie in mind, but because I wasn't, you know, I didn't have much pull other than being Chong, you know. The movie ended up starting out to be Cheech and Chong's greatest hits. And then it turned into Up in Smoke because I wrote a song called Up in Smoke. And when Cheech heard it, he goes, that's the title of the movie. And then once we had the title,
nice.
Now we'll do a movie around that title. Right. And you know, and we try to put a few Cheech and Chong's greatest hits, you know, the records in there. But we had to actually cut them out, you know, because it wasn't a record, it was a movie. Right. And you put stuff in there that don't belong, that's the first to go. So yeah, it was the career. It was like, that's why I tell you about the fiddle player, you know, because he needed somebody to help him play. And my whole career has been like that. You know, I've always had a partner, either on screen or sometimes off screen, but you don't do this shit alone.
What made you decide to get into comedy from going from music over to comedy?
I had a couple of things. First of all, I got fired from Motown. And even though I wrote the song, it was my band. I discovered, you know, I had a club. Everything was my. But the minute they had a chance, they fired me. And by the way, it's a good life lesson. If you can be fired at anything, maybe you should be looking for something else. and so I got fired from Motown, but again, it was like, you know, fate pushing me along. So, okay, you don't need to work here anymore. Okay. You know, but I went to Motown. Motown would give me a green card. You see, that was the secret of what I got out of Motown. And once I got that green card, now, And when I was on the road with Motown, I would, instead of going to blues clubs, which was, I owned one. So the last place I'm going to go is to a blues club. But I started going to these improvisational theaters like Second City. And I think Second City was the first I saw. And then I went to San Francisco, and then there was a group there called The Committee. And so that's where Cheech and I got our act, basically. All our top bits were right out of The Committee, which pissed the committee off. but but it was like, oh, sorry, but I really needed that bit.
Right.
I'll give it back to you if you want, but I really needed that bit because we had a whole bunch of people here waiting to laugh, and that bit was perfect for the time, So
right.
So that's what we did, and what I did when I went back to, like I said, I had a blues club, after hours club, and I had a topless nightclub or strip joint. Both clubs were given to me, by the way. Again, hey, you want a club? Okay, you got it. Just pay rent, you're fine. And so I had a strip club, nice. and so when I went back after I got fired from Motown, I went back to work the clubs, or put another band together, basically. What the hell is that? Anyway, I started, when I went back, I had no urge to go to the blues club or the after hours club because there's a band playing there. Who gives a shit? But the girls, the strip club, okay, I'll go hang out there. And so I started working the lights, because I'm a worker, so I started working the lights, and I noticed that, the girls looked so beautiful when they walked in to work. And then they put on these creepy stripper outfits, and they look real, they don't look as gorgeous as they once did. They're kind of cheap, like strippers, So I'm thinking, I put the improvisational clubs kind of came into my head, and I thought, wow, this would make a great improv theater because you got beautiful girls, so I wrote a bit where the girls would come on stage pretending it was their where they lived, and and they were having a pajama party after the gig, after working in the club, and the MC, the MC and the singer, but the singer really, the MC was a guy named Taps Harris, and Taps was a tap dancer, but he was an MC because he got really too old to tap dance, and so he's MCing at strip clubs, and so I had him in the skit too. And the skit really was simple. All the girls would come over one by one, and they would change from their street clothes into their pajamas because, they just had a hard day at the Shanghai junk, and and so much fun to have this little party, and all the Taps is coming over, and so Taps comes over, and they say, why do they call you Taps? And Taps, well, I'm a tap dancer. Really? Okay. Well, so we had prearranged for Taps to do his tap dance number, and he did. But the crowd loved him so much, he got an encore. and right after the encore, Taps left the club and never came back. It was like we made him dance for his money again, and he had passed all that. He had done that. So I said to the doorman, I need an MC, and his name was Dave, and Dave says, well, I'll do it if you do it. And all of a sudden I'm on stage, and that was it. And we used to do skits and write. We had an improv club, and we would write and do 2 shows a night, and we packed the joint. We never made any money because we changed it from a strip club where you get like 5 horny businessmen will make you rich, but 300 theater goers will eventually you'll go broke because that's why theaters have a hard time. because no one wants, there's no action going on. It's all make believe. But anyway, so we packed the joint, and then we had a straight man. And by that time, because I started this improv club, I attracted all the actors in the town, stage actors and, everybody, entertainers. And they all started coming to the club. And then, but in the gig, we had a straight man. We had to have like a cop looking guys, because Dave had long hair and a beard, and I had long hair and a beard. And so we needed that cop, and so we had hired this actor named Rick Lenz. Well, Rick was, like a Broadway actor. He's really good. And so he got a lot of the good skits, and so the entertainment section of the paper, we were a big hit. All of a sudden we got this improv theater, beautiful women, and boom, we're on the front page. And Rick was posing with the strippers, one on either side with their titties in each ear, kind of. And Rick's wife, who had no idea what Rick was doing, now she has to face all her friends with Rick on the front page of the paper.
Wow. That's not the best way to find out.
Rick quit, man. Rick quit. He never came back. His wife just said no.
Somebody check on Rick. Is he okay?
Yeah, Rick was gone. And so then there was a Russian named Ihor Tordek. He owned, what did he own? Oh, he owned a hippie newspaper called Poppin'. And he had a guy working for him that would be perfect for the show, And so he told me, he said, you got to meet this guy. He's really, really funny. And so that's when I met Richard Barron for the first time. And Richard was writing for the hippie magazine and delivering carpets on the side to make a few bucks, because there's no money in the hippie magazine business. And so I said, I'm looking for actors. And he said, well, let me come down, check it out. And then Cheech started telling me all these stories about him, because I was a musician. Oh yeah, he was a musician too. He sang in different bands, and he was a folk singer. He was all these things, And so he joined the group, and he was like the third guy. He was a straight guy, and he really didn't do too much. He brought a couple of skits into the thing, but he wasn't the straight guy. He was a little brown Mexican, and which we didn't know at the time. And so we started doing these, getting funnier and funnier, because every once in a while I'd go down to California to visit my wife and my family, who still live down there, and I would go drop in and watch the committee and get more material, and then come back to Vancouver and show everybody the new bits I learned. And so we all learned these really funny bits. And then about at the right time, my brother came up to us one time. He says, he threw a big stack of bills on the desk. He says, we're not making enough money, we're going to have to go back to the girls stripping, and I said, well, okay, I couldn't argue with that shit, because we weren't getting paid anyway. And if we're not making enough money and you're not getting paid, that means you're out of a gig, So, but in the meantime, there's a group called, remember the group called Three Dog Night?
Yep.
Yeah, well, the drummer, I was married to his sister, Maxine. Floyd Sneed is the drummer, and Floyd came to town when I had the club in the improv theater group, and he brought the Three Dog Night down to see us. And of course we killed, and we did it one more time, and then Cheech and I we were going to form a band because he's a singer and I'm a guitar player. And I put a band together and we got a gig. It was the Battle of the Bands at the Gardens. And because of my reputation with Motown, you know, we got a gig right away. But when we got there, we decided to start off with comedy. And so Cheech and I did some of the bits that we knew. You know, we ad-libbed a lot. But we mesmerized the kids for a good hour. And we never played a note. We just did comedy. And right halfway through, I realized that this is it, man. I struck gold. And so after we actually won the Battle of the Bands, even though never we played anything. And then the drummer was very funny. Powder Blues Band, that was the name of his group. It got some legs. The bass player, he goes, so when's our next gig, boss? It was kind of funny. So
you guys should do a reunion show.
Yeah, we'll have a reunion with him. And then Cheech had to sneak into America. I had a wife and family in LA, so I had no problem. And not a green card. I had a green card. I had a green card at that time. Yeah. And there we are. And then Cheech snuck in real easy because no one was checking the border, you know, especially for Mexicans coming in from Canada, you know. So he got in, we got in, and then we just went from, we started off at the Red Fox Club. That was our first gig. And we hooked up with the elite, the Lenny Bruce entourage. They were still hanging out together, even though Lenny was dead. They were still hanging out, going to comedy clubs, probably looking for the next Lenny. In fact, that's what happened. Tony Vasquero, who was Lenny's father-in-law, he was younger than Lenny, but he was a Chicano. He was in the crowd when Cheech and I appeared, and right after we did our set, Tony come up to me and he told me, he says, "Man, you're the first thing I've seen since Lenny died that has that same vibe, that same feeling." And of course, you know, because Lenny was my mentor. And then, you know, Tony actually became our manager, even though, and he was getting us into where all the freebies were. But Tony had a heroin problem, you know, all his life. And so he would check out every once in a while, you know, go on a binge, and then he'd come back. And and we kept tight with all that. And Sally Marr, Lenny Bruce's mother, she was right with us. She got us an audition one time at, was it Paramount Pictures? One of the movie studios. And the guy was like a Lenny Bruce fan, I guess. And Cheech and I, we sat and did in the field, we did one of our bits. And his comment was, I've seen it in Yiddish. That was his comment.
Soulshine join us. Thanks for joining us.
What's that?
Yeah. Oh, thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be on. And Tommy, I grew up watching you and your work, and so this is surreal for me as well. But thank you for helping to foster the generation of stoners that I'm a part of.
Oh, good. Are you a musician?
I am, yeah. I play guitar, a little bit of djembe drum as well, a little bit of medicine music, shakers, that sort of thing as well.
Do you sing?
I do a little bit, yeah. Had a little bit of training as a teenager and a little bit of time as a front man, but not professionally.
Well, work on the singing. Take singing lessons, you know, and become a singer, because that'll get you through. That'll get you through life. You know, look at Tony Bennett. He can't form a sentence, but he can sing. He can sing his whole repertoire, and he's what, 90, 100 years, 110. I don't know. He's old up. He's up there. So work on your singing, dude.
Yeah, songs
Get serious, because you got the looks.
I totally will.
Yeah, yeah. You got the looks, man. You know, get serious about something.
Thanks, man.
And figure it out. You love it. So what better? It's like having a lover now. Now you get married to it, you know, and really, yeah, because take advantage of your looks, man, because they don't last.
That's why I got my hair long. You know, it starts to go a little bit, but yeah, I'm living it long as I can. I know Steve's got the trick there though to dread it up and keep it for even longer. It doesn't let it slip away as quickly. I'm curious though, Tommy, was the Battle of the Bands you were talking about there, did that inspire the Up in Smoke Battle of the Bands?
Probably. Yeah. Yeah, it did. Yeah, yeah. Well, there used to be Battle of the Bands, you know, back in the day. We had all, you know, that kind of thing going all the time. Well, I started out, when I started out playing, I was like the Beatles around the same time. I think they were like a year or something. There's little in between us, but yeah, our careers were parallel. You know, age-wise and everything. I was a little bit before him. I'm older than all of these guys, you know. But because I wasn't that good, I had to become a comedian. And comedy, man, it's fun. It's easy. It's not you. It's the muse, you know, and all you have to do is make friends with the muse, and then you're good to go for life. You know, and that's what I did. But yeah, that's how I met Cheech. But I realized in my career really was all about helping somebody else, and that's what directing is, by the way. You know, I didn't know I was a movie director until we did a movie, and then I realized, oh shit, it's not that I can do this; it's I have to do this. You know, it's like a decorator coming in and someone else moving furniture around. You know, and that's what a director is. A director knows what should be there and how it should be there. You know, that thing. So when I realized that, then my life really, really took off. Oh, so well. I mean, think about it, man. I directed a movie in Amsterdam. I directed a movie in Paris, France. And I would have done another movie in South America, but then I lost my actor. Cheech got deported.
Oh, no.
To another company. Yeah.
Right.
No, he went on, did his own movie, Born in East LA. Born in East LA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was the beginning of my stand-up career. So that was really good because I'd never done stand-up. I did comedy teams, but I never did one-on-one, you know. And so when Cheech and I broke up, I said, whoa. So I went, you know who inspired me is Dennis Miller. Do you remember Dennis Miller?
Yeah, for sure.
From Saturday Night. Was he on Saturday? No. Yeah, he was on Saturday Night Live, did the news update. Yeah, Dennis Miller. Well, Dennis Miller was doing stand-up in Vancouver, 1963, New Year's. It was a New Year's Eve weekend or whatever. And I went and seen Dennis Miller. I hadn't been in a comedy club for, you know, a couple of years almost. And I went in there and I'm, you know, of course I met Dennis, and then he went on stage and wow, he had so much fun and I had so much fun. And I said, I want to do that. And so then I did.
I had a question I wanted to ask you because I think people hearing it from you, it'll help a lot of people. You've had a different health issues that you've, you know, cancer and other things that you've treated with cannabis. And I think a lot of people are scared when they find out that they have that kind of diagnosis and aren't quite sure about cannabis. And I was hoping maybe you could talk a little bit about, you know, how it's helped you through some of your stuff and why people should consider it if they're on the fence.
Well, cannabis affects the brain, and that's what it does. Calms the brain in some people. And sometimes it's like petting a wild animal. Sometimes, you can be petted, and other times you can't even touch it. And that's why some people are afraid. They don't like the effects of what it does to their brain, but it affects the brain, and it will help the brain because it slows down the brain, slows everything down, slows time down. And because time really is what happens when we're doing shit, and so if you're busy doing things, you're not aware of time, but when you get high on cannabis, you become very aware of time. And that's how the musicians, poets, and writers, and artists, and singers, and businessmen, the human race. That's how we jump on that cloud. We catch a cloud and we just ride it as far as we can ride it. And some of us still ride it. A lot of us getting on that cloud, because it really is the door to knowledge, because what happens with cannabis, you become curious, and you're not curious. See, you can only be curious if you don't know the answer. You see, that's why you're curious. But if you know the answer, then, that's why when you know outcomes and, when things are regulated, like actually stopping it, the cannabis will open that door. Because a lot of times that door, there's nothing stopping it from being open except your ignorance. And so cannabis can really help lose the problem, the reason for that ignorance. See, because we all are brilliant, there's no, you can't see, we're all equal in that area, some more equal than others, granted, but still. And that's what you want to do. That's what cannabis does. It will enhance what's ever there. Okay.
What advice do you have for aspiring comics?
Be funny. That's all. That's all you can say to them.
That's true. All. It's kind of the one requirement, right?
Yeah, the only requirement, really.
Right.
In some cases. Yeah. Look, I've been studying, because I never started out as a comedian. I started out as a young guy that didn't know, could play a little guitar. But what I learned, because I become a student of everything, a watcher, because when I was very young, I was incarcerated. So I never had that mother home experience. My experience was purely left alone, and and actually the odd strangers coming in and going in my life. So I learned how to be so comfortable being alone that it could get kind of freaky at times. But then I learned how to be alone in a crowd. And cannabis will help you with that. Never get the complaint, well, you just stand there, you don't say anything.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. And I do think, I totally agree with you about cannabis sort of, opening up your brain and affecting your brain and ideas. And I think that it's also somewhat the culture of people that you connect with when consuming cannabis that also is more accepting towards that. Do you feel like that cannabis culture that even stretches back into the 70s has played a part in its roots in musicianship or all of those different things? I feel like that the people involved are a portion of it too. And I wonder if you have any thoughts on your experiences in the cannabis culture in terms of people and their level of acceptance.
Well, we're in a different era, now, and for a long while, well, and even right now, only the hip people knew about hip shit like that, and now, thanks to the internet, everybody's hip. Everybody can be turned on, In fact, the internet has turned us into 70-30. Isn't that amazing? 70% that know and 30% that don't. And that's what the internet has done, because everybody has a voice now. See, before you had to go through channels to get a voice, but now everybody has a voice and everybody has a camera. And so everybody has a right to say whatever they can, that they want to say or do or feel, you see. And so the writing, and it's thanks to cannabis. It's got to be thanks to cannabis, because we wouldn't have this phone that we're talking to if it wasn't for cannabis. We wouldn't have that computer that we're on that can figure all this shit out if it wasn't for cannabis. Some nerd going,
For sure.
I got it. I know, right. Check this out.
Absolutely.
And that's where we're at now. And we're always at the beginning, I've been through all these beginnings for a long time, but it's always the beginning. It's the beginning of this, beginning of that, but we're always beginning. We're always in the beginning. And that's where we're at, you see. Now, when people ask me about the old days in the cannabis, nothing has changed. The plant has not changed in, say, eternity, And that's why when you talk about strains, I mean, it's like talking about the apostles. What is the difference? They're all prophets of the same master, and that's what we are. Cannabis is the closest to God that so many of us has ever been, and that's why a lot of people, when they do cannabis for the first time, it's like, whoa, that felt weird, man. We're at a party at this sort of a very wealthy couple that had never really gotten high, and I had these strips. They're breast strips. No, we give them chocolate. We give them very medicated chocolate, and warned them, but they all took the chocolate like it was dessert, and it was the most memorable party ever. And one thing she said that I kind of wrapped in everybody's mind. She goes, I started looking at everybody, and then I started thinking these horrible thoughts. And then I realized, I hope I didn't say anything out loud. It was so perfect, because that was the first time for her. And now, she's not, by no means, turned on, but she's turned on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you definitely, it's so much more accepted now than it, was before. Like I didn't really start till I was a little bit older, about 19 or so. But even then, you had to be, a little bit more of a rebel than you have to be these days with so many, legal states. So it's interesting to be able to walk into a dispensary or take stuff on a plane is really, like, I know it's legal. I've checked like 30 times, but it still makes me nervous. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know.
You know what? I'm more careful now than I used to be. Because before, when it was illegal, then I would sort of like forget that I had it. I don't know. It was like, that's the best way to fool or carry anything. Is not think you got it. And but I got caught a few times, and yeah, even when I travel now, because you don't know what the laws are in different states and everything, and I got so used to not carrying anything with me, because I used to carry it on in my guitar, but I would put it at the top of the little pocket up there when I had it on my back, so the dog could never smell it. It was too high up, and then one day I was coming through the Canadian border, but I never had my guitar. Or no, I had my guitar, but I thought I put the pipe. No, and I hid the pot too. I had the guitar, I hid the pot, but the dog spotted the pipe in my pocket. And so we got stopped at the Canadian border. And and that's when I found out that because I'm a Canadian with a US passport, they can't keep me out of either country for any reason, especially pot. Because, at one time they were keeping people from traveling if you had a pot conviction, And I don't know, they still might do it. It still might be on.
Yeah, they still do it to people. Yep. I know people that have just invested in Canada and had that problem. But so I think the question everyone wants to know is, you've surely bumped elbows with Elon at this point. What's up with that space weed from your movies? Is that going to happen now?
Elon, yeah, could be, man. Yeah, good old space weed. Yeah. Well, I think Elon is doing pretty good. He's checking a few things out. He's doing all right. He's showing us what it's like to be the richest man in the world. And I'm enjoying the hell out of it, man. Because I intend to be one of the richest men in the world. Very shortly, too. Yeah, because we can now. Everybody's got an equal shot at it. We just someone's got to come up with the $1 billion plan, and I got it. I'm going to be unveiling it very soon. But
any date that we can look forward to, or anything you want to kind of people can look forward to find out more when it's appropriate?
We got a Cheech and Chong documentary in the shelf, ready to come out, and when that comes out, that's when I'm going to reveal my plan to save the world.
Cool. Wonderful. We definitely look forward to that. Is there any other things you want to mention here? I know we're just about out of time. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention as far as upcoming shows or other things you wanted to mention that you're working on?
Yeah, well, just buy all my product, the Tommy Chong CBD. You can get it in every drugstore. This is the good night Irene type, put you to sleep. And this one will wake your ass up. And so, I've been doing really well with those because it's weird. It's all CBD, but you can't sell these in head shops. I mean, in dispensaries. I love the way the laws are funny, man, because it's like they're not stoners that are making the laws. Let's put it that way. They're like people that really are trying their best, but not really doing well.
Colorado is the best one. CBD products, in order to be sold in the dispensary, have to have 1% THC. Like, you have to artificially add 1% THC to a CBD product. It makes no sense.
I mean, that's what I mean. It's the law, because and we're going through this. It's 70-30. That 30% of the But it's fun, man. This is what life's all about, you know. And it's fun when you got a little heads up on it all, you know. So when I see stuff coming, the idea of comedy is that that's what you have to do. You have to find the funny in everything, and it's there. It's there, and I've been finding it.
Certainly looking forward to hearing more comedy from you in the future, and your future plans and other things that you'll be unveiling. Is there anything you're going to kind of mention here in parting? I know you're just about out of time.
I thought I just did.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a really wonderful episode, and I'm very grateful for your time. And I thank you so much for joining us today.
Who are you guys?
Sure. So actually, I'll let you guys introduce yourself, and then I'll go last. Marty.
So I'm Marty Waddell. I have a YouTube channel and social media at APMeds or Aquaponic Meds. So I grow all aquaponic cannabis. I teach a class on aquaponic cannabis with Steve that we've been doing for a while now on the Teachable platform. So we teach people how to grow, weed with fish poop and a few other inputs. And so we always like to make the joke that, Jesus turned water into wine, but we turned fish poop into weed, and we think that's a lot better. So, so I have tons of pictures up on social media and tons of different grows that I've been doing. I think I have probably 7 or 8 different variations of aquaponic grows on my YouTube channel at APMeds. So check that out. And thank you, Tommy, for just tolerating all of my fanboy questions, and just really appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
No, thank you, man. Who else is there?
Hi, Caleb.
Yeah, well, I'm Caleb, Soulshine Growing, and
let's see a picture of you.
I am the director.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, you don't see my picture. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Good. We can see face to face across the obsidian portal. So,
Okay.
yeah, my name's Caleb. I'm Soulshine Growing, and I'm the director at Copyleft Cultivars, a nonprofit where we're working to preserve and protect medicinal plants, especially cannabis, using copyleft and research and education. So I'm also a 10-year grower of cannabis. It saved me from Crohn's disease, and so I owe it a great deal of gratitude, and do all that I can to help celebrate and spread the beautiful plant. So thank you for being here, and I really appreciate hanging out with you a little bit. And
what's your name?
I hope that you can keep right in those clouds. Caleb Soul, Caleb DeLuke.
Hey, Caleb, you get a fucking haircut, man. Jesus. You look like some goddamn hippie, for Christ's sake.
I know, they don't even let me in all the stores yet.
Oh. No, you're looking good, man. Work on your singing.
Yeah, I'll definitely be signing up for more singing lessons and getting that out there. Thanks for the inspiration, Tommy.
Yeah, do it.
Channel
Next time I
videos
see you,
every day.
Okay, man.
And I'm Stephen Reisner. I'm the owner of Ponics, and I do aquaponic cannabis consulting, as well as the host of the Growing with Fishes podcast. Marty and I have been running the show for 6 years, and we host online aquaponic cannabis education over at apmjclass.com. Thank you so much for your time. You've been truly a wonderful guest, and thank you so much for all the wonderful joy that you put into this world.
You're welcome. And how long have you been growing that beard now?
This beard I've been growing for 14, 15 years. I trimmed it once when I got caught in the power tool, so I keep it a little shorter than I used to, but my dreads are quite a bit longer.
Whoa! That's some heavy shit, man.
Literally.
Well, I love it.
Literally,
Man. I love the
yeah.
You got a real crowd here.
Speaking of
thank you so much.
hippies.
Yeah, thank you guys. Okay, we're gone. We're good.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate you so much. Have a great evening.
Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye. Well, that was a wonderful, wonderful episode, and certainly one that we've all been looking forward to for a long time. And Big thanks to Marty and Soulshine for coming in. Marty, how was your girl doing? We haven't had a chance to talk to you in a minute.
Oh, well, as far as that goes, first of all, thanks for getting that together, man. That was awesome. I mean, that was all you right there.
I'm working on it. We got some other really cool guests in the queue. We've had a couple of really cool ones lately, and we got more in the queue. Don't worry, guys. We got a lot of really sweet guests.
I don't know,
in the
man.
queue.
That sort of feels like Everest, but
Right?
I'll let you try
Yeah.
to top it if you want. Go ahead. I'm not going to argue. But as far
Working
as
on
the
it,
grow
working on it.
goes, yeah, I've been busy doing lots of other stuff besides growing, but I did get some beans cracked. Actually, my wife got some beans cracked, so thanks to her. Appreciate that. So those are, maybe like 6 inches tall right now. And so we have a number of different seeds from some of the ones you gave me, some of the ones Josh sent me. So he sent me maybe like 3 different ones. I think we talked about it on the podcast a couple of times now. So finally got some of those cracked, and got to get the greenhouse cleaned up again and get it back on track. But hopefully got everything we need to finish it, and the contractor lined up. So he's hopefully going to get all that done, and we'll get this season's worth of videos online. I know I saw people commenting about getting some new content up, which I definitely need to do. So appreciate you guys pestering me, but just know the beans are cracked. The videos are coming. We'll get that together. But yeah, so it's been an interesting start to the year, but we will get rolling and get things finished up. I've been dying to get this greenhouse going for this season, so it's going to be fun. It's actually just froze here though, which has been crazy. And actually for like 2 days in a row, so that's a little weird. We usually get one in April, but to have 2 of them this late and pretty hard freeze too. I think it got down to like 29 degrees here in the valley, so it's been a little rough. But anyway, with the greenhouse should help out all that and be able to get that online. So everything is progressing. The indoor will get filled up with whatever we decide to clone out of this batch of seeds that we're popping right now, and I might pick up a couple other ones. We'll see, but trying to go all seeds this run and see how that works out. And do like a traditional pheno hunt, but it'll be small. I don't have a ton of room, so it's not like I can do 300 plants or whatever. I don't have a facility like Steve's got behind him there. Although you can't see it as well now, all the lights are turned out, of course. But yeah, I don't have that kind of room. But definitely want to get some big ones going in the greenhouse. I need to time it just right or figured out so that I can try and get, I think I have about 10.5-11 feet of height in the greenhouse, and I want to take up a good portion of it. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, other than that, grow wise, we're just kicking it off for the year, getting a late start, but it will be good. So running seeds later than running clones traditionally. Normally we have fairly tall clones that we get ready to put out by this time this year, but I actually have a number of friends that are leaning more towards growing from seed and starting them later, or even right in the ground later in the year, as opposed to maintaining clones, like cracking beans in January or February and growing them up to a certain height. So there's different ways. And I see a lot of people growing from seed. I think mostly because of pest issues. I think it's probably been the biggest one.
Oh, yeah. Apparently y'all didn't see any of the walkthrough, so I'll kind of have to. The lights just went off, so y'all will have to bear with me on that. But yeah, so this is part of the nursery of the big grow that I've been working on. There's a lot more to show you guys, but I kind of want everything to be finished and polished before we start showing more off. But there's some of the moms. This is just one of the mom rooms. And then we have a bunch of stuff that's cut and clone, getting ready to just get transplanted and kicked up to the greenhouses with more clones. More moms and clones. You can see I just tore half the room out because I didn't like the results of some of the moms that they had from the last harvest. So a bunch of, I know you kind of can't see it well, but bunch of spots that are just restarts of new strains that we're bringing in. to kind of get some better returns on some of the stuff. So yeah, this is just one of them. There's two other rooms that are this size. We have all that are fully packed out. Again, we're just waiting. We had a climate control or electrical thing delay on some parts of the greenhouse, but as soon as that's here next week, we'll be able to move everything over. Yeah, good times. As always, random shipping problems post-COVID cause issues, but it's okay.
Well, it's actually good when you use fertilizer you're making yourself with your fishes and your own CanF and ferments and things, instead of having to rely on the world movement of fertilizers and the mass endangered market there. So big shout out to everybody who's making their own.
Oh yeah, we're doing in fact, we'll be making a huge amount of IMO on Monday or Saturday. We'll be doing a bunch of filming on that. Some of that'll be up on the class, some of that'll be up on YouTube. We're going to be doing a ton of microscope work on all the CanF inputs. There isn't really a good series, in my opinion, on YouTube that kind of goes through and shows, here's a really good collection. Okay, cool. Here's it under the microscope now. Same thing with labs, same thing with liquid IMO, like all these different ones people talk about, but there isn't really hardly any good microscope footage. So we're going to be working on getting that filmed the next couple of weeks as we launch the fields. Adding a bunch of soil content as well to the class, so that'll be fun. And then also YouTube content on both soil and aquaponics. The aquaponics will kind of be a little bit later on in the year at this facility, so we're kind of just adapting with what they got for now until we have time to finish getting stuff, start to switch over. So it's going to be a lot of fun. What's new with you, Caleb?
Well, I'm actually out here in Arizona. I don't know if you guys are able to see that view there with the cigar cactus or not. But yeah, checking out, doing quite a few things, but one of the big things I'm doing here is checking out a site that I've been doing consulting on. And it's beautiful. It's not the environment I'm used to. I'm used to rainy, drizzly Cascadia. But luckily, a lot of the same principles apply. So it's awesome to be out here. And my heart is with my koi fish back at the house where I have just freshly set up some aquaponics systems feed into my irrigation and my blue mats as sort of a first layer of integration there. And I'm really excited for when I get back to be continuing to build that out. And I'll be putting out some more information as I do through my through my Instagram as well. And probably be coming on when I feature in the future and show you guys a little bit more of that when you have me. So that I'll definitely keep you updated on that.
Awesome. That definitely sounds like a well, is there anything else that you've been working on lately? I know you've been working hard with the copyleft stuff as well. Do you want to mention that?
Yeah, so we're actually really excited at Copyleft Cultivars to be recently applied for the Common Stack Prize. And that's an organization that is using Web3 technology to facilitate the commoning of communities and bringing communities together in a very similar style to what we've been envisioning. So there's a great synergy there. And we have a video out as well that recently on our YouTube, the Copyleft Cultivars and Copyleft Cannabis YouTube, we have the Common Stack application video there. We've got a coalition of 14 different organizations now that are collaborating and looking towards building that out. If we do win, and if we don't win that, we're still going to be taking that progress and transforming it into ways that we can bring the community the system that we've been promising. So super excited about that. We're also, we've been working with a little bit with University of Kansas on their Fieldbook app, and don't want to blow the announcement too early, but we have some exciting announcements about ways that people can collect information about their cultivars and protect it all at the same time in a way that puts the community front and center, puts your freedom front and center, and helps to prevent the sort of litigative takeovers that we've seen in other food crops. So yeah, anyone that wants to stay up to date on that, copyleftcannabis.com and copyleftcultivars.com. We got two different websites going, one for the larger nonprofit Copyleft Cultivars and one for the specific project related to cannabis. So also looking for anybody who wants to volunteer their time, since this is a full volunteer effort and entirely made by the community so that we can keep it pure and serving everybody's interests. So feel free to reach out, anyone who feels inspired by this and wants to get involved.
How can they do
Thanks
that?
for the
If they want to,
question. No, good.
how can they do that if they want to reach out?
Yeah, sorry, I'm in the car here right now, so
You're fine.
reception might not be so great, but I think I heard you say, how can people reach out?
Yeah.
And that would be the Copyleft Cultivars Instagram, also Copyleft Cannabis. We have both of those, where you can go to copyleftcultivars.com or copyleftcannabis.com, and both of those have more information about the nonprofit and about the project and ways that you can reach out. I'll be putting the Discord link in the chat as well. People can jump onto that as much as they'd like. And we're very open about the collaboration. We're doing this as transparently as possible. So, feel free to message there and we can meet, and I can even kind of open the kimono to anyone who really wants to see the guts of what we're building as well on a deeper level.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your efforts on that. I know it's a hard nut to crack, and we've definitely covered that particular topic quite a bit on the show over the years. So through its various growing pains, I guess, for probably is the most polite way to put it. So you guys can check us out. Marty and I have the podcast every Thursday. Next week we have Quinn from Professor Q, Professor_Q on Instagram. He'll be joining us. He's a wonderful KNF speaker, so he'll be our guest next week. And I probably, at least for the short term, just through the next couple of weeks, we'll be not doing Monday shows or Tuesday shows. And then we'll be back to our normal 2-show-a-week thing as my schedule gets a little less clustered. So for now, at least through the beginning of planting season, I think I need to just stick to 1 show a week just to make sure it's easier on myself. So thank you, everybody, for watching. You can check out more episodes of this over at Growing with Fishes on your favorite podcast app or Ponics. Either one will find you on all the different podcast apps, or on if you want to learn more about aquaponic cannabis, you can find us at apmjclass.com. A wonderful course. We're going to be adding a ton of soil stuff as well, so it'll be more of a both class now, not just strictly aquaponics, but we're adding. I got a ton of more content that I've been filming for you guys. I just haven't had time to edit it up. Again, my schedule is going to get a little bit easier after like June 15th, so just bear with me. Alrighty, guys. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll catch you guys again soon. Peace.